It's good. Never. In any city I've ever worked for. And I've worked for some amazing cities. But to be in this city at this time is a great tribute to where this city is and how we've turned the page from when I used to be at council meetings to 2 o'clock in the morning to now I get to council meetings and we get our business done in 35 minutes. I like the 35-minute council meeting versus the 6-hour council meeting where we don't get anything done. And many of you who live in and around the city know, you see what's happening in the city. And that doesn't just happen because people outside the city decide to invest in the city. What happens is they see what's happening, and that's why you're here. You're here because you see the movement that's happening in the city and you want to be a part of that. We also have diverse leadership in our management, all the way from our city manager, Artie Fields, our chief, Mark Farnerada, our city attorney, Ken Campos, our assistant city manager, Michael Falco, also assistant city manager and chief financial officer, David Esparza, our IT director, newly appointed IT director, Sabrina Barnes over our Parks and Rec, Louis Atwell, who is our Public Works Director. That guy with the bow tie on, that's me, and I rock some mean bow tie. By the way, even in Detroit, Chicago, New York, they talk about my bow tie. So, and then also our HR Director, Jose Cortez, and obviously that's a picture of me and our consultant, City Attorney Royce Jones, the city manager, and myself at the announcement with the Rams where we had Cronky there and the whole bell and whistle. So. Which was in the form, by the way. The procurement process, one of the things who has gone through a RFP, RFQ process before? Let me see your hands. Wow, not a lot. Stand up to your feet if you've been through that process before for an RFP. All right, let's give them a hand. Now, those of you who are sitting, stay standing just for a moment. Those of you who are sitting, please note these individuals because they can give you valued information about the RFP process. A lot of it, and I'm sure you have not won all of your RFPs, but you've gone through the process and you know what it is to compete through an RFP process. So, okay, you guys keep seeing. Thank you very much. An RFP process, it varies depending on where you go. So I'm going to focus in, obviously, on the city of Inglewood. And we have various kind of levels of procurement that we go through. Some are less complicated than others. So the big dog is RFP, that's usually the big money. We have just recently, we did one in our planning division that was for $650,000 for an active transportation plan. We also did a transit-oriented district we're working on now, that was $500,000. And I don't even want to talk about the All-American contract who's doing the resurfacing of Century Boulevard. That's multiple millions of dollars. But these are RFP processes that they go through. But I want to talk about the little ones because some of you may get scared away from the big stuff. You need to understand there's little stuff too. Fish and bread keeps you fed. I don't know if you ever heard that before. I play dominoes and I'll take the 5 real quick. I don't need 25 to win. I can kill you with 5s. Okay? Trust me if you don't believe it. But purchases at $7,500, fair market competitive prices paid for goods and services. We basically look for a quote. All you do is quoting. Some of you might be doing merchandise, you might be doing paper, you might be doing, commodities, things that, knickknacks, toilet seat covers, all kind of stuff that city needs to be able to have on a day-by-day basis to operate. We have our parks, this 9 square miles that we're in. We have all the operational things. So if you have a company and you want to just be in the race for little contracts, you literally can make hundreds of thousands of dollars just doing little contracts. So I want to remind you that that's always available. And a lot of times, that's about relationship. Say relationship.
Relationship.
Say it again, relationship. You got to get to know that guy right there. See that guy right there? Wave your hand, Councilman. That's a good guy to know. When I come up to the 9th floor and I go in his office, I see your faces in there. I know you listen to what I said. You need to get engaged with your council, with your mayor. It's going to be hard to get with Mayor Butts, but you still have a little time left with the council, the 4 council districts, that you can begin to build these relationships. Talk about what your needs are and what it is that you can do as a business. We just had a presentation today. We're probably going to be working on a new website, state-of-the-art website. The company came up, they just kept emailing. And then all of a sudden the timing was right. Next thing you know, we're sitting in the council chambers and it's probably going to make them several $100,000 for that. Okay. When you start talking about purchases from 7,500 to 20,000, wherever possible, we look for competitive. Now, I don't know about you, I'm getting some work done on my house, right? And when I get work done on my house, I do competitive bidding. You know, and I do go on the different social media websites to see, you know, I do it when I go to a hotel, I also do it when I'm buying something of significance, obviously, to me. So you want, in this process, that allows us to be able to see if you're competitive. And we want to know that you're competitive because unlike the private sector, we're dealing with taxpayers' money. You understand that? So we're the stewards. There's one of the stewards of taxpayers' money. So we have to make sure from a city standpoint that we're getting everything we need in terms of the services so that we can service our citizens and our businesses. So competitive bidding is definitely one of the things that you're going to be dealing with. When you get to purchases of 20,000 to 75,000, all of a sudden it switches. Now we go into a more competitive environment, right? So when you go under 20,000, less competitive. When you go over 20,000, more competitive. And what that means is we have in a thing called our Inglewood Municipal Code, which sets forth our regulations and our stipulations for how we operate in the city. It's very transparent. It's not a mystery. You can go online, you can see it for yourself and know that it's there, and we follow it. We have to. That's why we have a city attorney, so I have a council to make sure that we follow these procedures so that it's fair. Say fair.
Fair.
Say fair.
Fair.
Some of y'all don't play fair. you know you don't play. But you know, we're trying to make sure that the playing field is level, right? Deborah was talking about how you can level the playing fields when you're competing with bigger companies, bigger. So we want to make sure that it's level. So we have an informal bidding requirement. I won't spend a whole lot of time talking about that. Like Deborah said, this presentation will be available to you if you want it, so you'll be able to see how to do that. And obviously you can reach out to me. I'm not going anywhere anytime soon, right, Councilman? Okay. And so I'm on the right page, right? I'll tell my wife, right? My kids, the little ones. All right. And then there has to be a bidding process. The bidding process makes it transparent. I won't talk about the RFP process yet, but the bidding means that there has to be notice, it has to be posted. There's all these little things that you have to do to make sure. Now, if you don't frequent, as a business owner, if you're not frequenting City Hall, at least once a week, you're missing it. You're missing opportunity because we post these things, and sometimes it may be buried. Now, I want you to know that we're getting better in social media as a city. But usually when you talk about municipalities, you find this stuff in some book, some room in the back room. You didn't even know that it was an opportunity for you to bid on what goods and services you provide. But the way you're going to know that is you have to get involved. You have to participate. You have to show up. You have to ask the right questions, okay? So when you get over 75,000 in the city, now we get formal. This is a formal bidding process. It's very specific what needs to be done. We'll talk about that in a little bit. I won't spend a whole lot of time, but just understand there's specific steps that you have to go through this process for it to be right to get to the council so they can act on it. But there is a little hole. There's a little opportunity in there, and we call it in our city short forms. The city manager has the authority, which was given to him by the city council, that he can approve certain contracts up to $50,000 by himself, literally. Now, it has to go through legal, purchasing, the hoops, but he has the ability to be able to basically not go through the detailed aspect of procurement, but to be able to identify. Now, where this really shows up is in professional services. So if you're a type of business that does professional services, in other words, what you do is unique, it's specified. I come out of the planning background, and that's a very specified area, whether it's environmental law, whether you're talking about development processing, very specialized. When you do that, you don't necessarily have to go through all the hoops because the state and the federal government sees that as something that even if you go out in a competitive environment, it's a very narrow opportunity for people to participate in it. And as you know, some of these professional companies gobble each other up, right? And so you see the same faces kind of moving around. But he's allowed, city manager, as Artie feels, he can use that process. Now, for non-professional services, he still has to do the competitive bidding. It still needs to be the highest and best bid. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. All right. So I want to get quickly, I don't want to bore you with all this stuff. It's very technical. But I want to quickly kind of give you an idea of what happens. The city, being responsible for the taxpayers' money, runs through these